Morning everybody and welcome. Today we are going to make a vegetarian quiche. It is going to be feta and spinach. We made this a couple of weeks ago and Tony reckons it's the nicest quiche he's ever had in his life. Not the nicest quiche he's had in a long time, but the nicest one he's ever had in his life. So, cracking on, I am using a short crust pastry that I bought. I'm just taking the easy option. If you want to make your own pastry, go back to the Quiche Lorraine video that I did and I show you how to make your own short crust pastry. Now I wanted to fit this pie dish here, so I'm going to just use my rolling pin to stretch it out another little bit and move it around like that. But what I can also do is, when I cut the trimmings off the end, I can also use them to fill in any gaps that I might have, if that makes sense. So you just tip your pastry over and push it into the edges before you start moving the paper off, and then just gently peel back your paper like that. Okay. It's best if your pastry is chilled. Mine has been out a little bit, so it's a little bit soft. So if you can keep it into the fridge for the longest possible time before you need to use it. I'm going to prick the edge, the bottom of it, just with a fork. It helps to cook it quicker. And then I'm just going to use just a normal knife to trim the edges off. Just like that, just moving around your pie dish, just to cut over the top like that. This always reminds me of my mommy doing that noise, that sound. And then you can bring back together your bits of pastry and roll them out flat again. You notice I'm not using any flour here because it doesn't tend to stick too much to the surface, and I only want a tiny little bit. As you can see here, I'm just missing a tiny bit of pastry here. Honestly, you could do it without patching up. Nobody would notice, but just to show you how to do it, just cut a little bit like that. Just leave that. Somebody might use that for something else later. And then just kind of push it in with the other pastry like that, and there you go. We have enough pastry to fill all the sides. Okay, next part is I'm going to add, I have one onion here that I dry fried slowly until it just turned, it's about to turn golden brown, and I'm going to just line the bottom of the case with a little bit of onion. If you don't like onions, you can leave onions out. We've done this before. We have a friend who is allergic to onions, so we have made this onionless, no problem. Next step is our eggs, and we have 8 eggs in here. Now, this is where my daughter Grace and I differ. I would put way less eggs, but I have to say she makes a far better quiche than I do, so I'm going to go with her. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eggs in here. How much milk do you have, Grace? 50 mils of milk. I would be adding 3, 5, 7 times that amount of milk. So this is a different recipe to the one that I would normally use. But if it's her daddy's favouriteest quiche she's ever had in his life, she'd tell me to beat a lot faster. Then I'm going to go with this recipe. So I'm going to add to that some cheese, and I just have 100 grams of grated cheese. Again, I'd be adding way more cheese. Would you mind passing me some salt and pepper, please? And just keep whisking that together. Thank you. Probably terrified I'm going to ask her to be in the video over there. I'm not going to actually add any salt because the feta cheese is very salty. So just a little bit of black pepper, and then I am going to now get my feta cheese. So for those of you who were wondering what cheese, what feta I was using. I'm using this one here. It's the cheapity cheap one from Lidl. And I just find, I would never use this in a salad because I find it too plasticky and salty. But when I'm cooking, it is fabulous. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that a great life lesson to learn? That different cheeses can be used for different things. So I'm literally going to just crumble that all the way around. And when Grace was making this the last time, she put about that much. And I'm like, no, put more, put more. So we put the whole packet in, much to her dismay, and it actually turned out to be fabulous. So Tony reckons that it kind of has a hint of like a blue cheese flavor. I don't like blue cheese, so I definitely would not have eaten it if I thought it was blue cheese flavored. But it definitely has that really strong cheese. I can smell it now. I get where he's coming from. I know what he's talking about. It's a very strong cheese flavor. I'm going to use the whole packet. Partly also because, I don't know about you, but I find if I open a packet like this, you never use the end of it. And then you find it in the fridge and there's things growing on it, like mold and hairs and ugh. So, waste not, want not. Okay, I'm going to just give my hands a quick rinse over here. And then we will add our eggy mixture and spinach. I forgot about the spinach. So Grace, do you put the spinach into your eggy mixture? She does. So she has 2 handfuls of spinach that she just pops in here like this to mix it all around. I really wish she would have made the video, but there was no convincing her. She'd be far better at this than I would be. Do you ever find that about some things that you're cooking and you're doing that somebody else has made for you? You always have this fear it's never going to be as nice as the way the person who made it for you. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Woo, I'm spilling it! There we go. There is our eggy mixture and our spinach. The spinach will completely wilt down when it's cooking, and we won't see much of it. Now the last thing I'm going to do is just do some little decorative. I have those little, you know, those little small plum tomatoes. I'm just going to dot them all over the top like this, just to add a little bit of colour. And that's our spinach. A lovely vegetarian alternative, especially during Lent. For those of you who are trying to cut back on the meat, this is a great one because you can make it in advance, you could stick it in the freezer, and you could actually make a huge one, maybe in a big oven tray, slice it up, portion it, stick it in your freezer, and then have it for your lunch. You know, take one out at a time whenever you need it. Okay. Here am I trying to use up all the tomatoes that I've chopped, and I probably have too much, but that's okay. It'll add a lovely little bit of colour. There we go. I'm going to pop that into the oven. What temperature, Grace? About 180. And I will check that and let you know what the time is in a bit. Here we go, guys. That has been in the oven for about a half an hour. And Grace has kindly reminded me that she usually puts the feta cheese on top so that you can actually see the feta cheese and it adds to the presentation. We all learn from somebody, don't we? So that's our beautiful spinach and feta cheese quiche. Now I would advise you just let it set for a bit. If you look in here, you can see that there's no wobbly bits in the middle anymore, and that's when you know your quiche is done. But I wouldn't serve that up straight away. I just let it cool down slightly, because when you start to cut into it, it'll just fall apart. So just give it a chance to set. And you know, you can eat this hot or cold, equally delicious. Guys, hope you have a wonderful weekend. We still have to celebrate the weekends, even if we're in lockdown. God bless, and thanks for watching.